to Purposeful, my friends. I'm your host, Ashley Bernardi, founder and CEO of Nardi Media, an award-winning strategic communications and media relations firm that helps mission-driven leaders, authors, organizations turn meaningful work into messages that actually move people. And here at Nardi Media, we don't just chase headlines, we build authority. We help our clients clarify their message, train them to show up powerfully on camera and on stage, and secure earned media across national TV, top-tier podcasts, and major publications so their ideas reach the audiences who need to reach them most. Purposeful here is an extension of that work, creating space for thoughtful conversations with people who are using their voice, their platform, and their leadership to make the world better. And today we're talking about something that impacts every part of society: our relationships, our families, and ultimately our future. My guest today is author of The Marriage Habit, a book that offers data-driven, science-backed system that any couple can implement to build a thriving relationship, no matter where they're starting from. So I'm so excited to introduce my friend, Casey Caston. He's a performance coach to high net worth entrepreneurs and professional athletes. He is a best-selling author with his wife, Meygan, and he helps build thriving families without sacrificing ambition or legacy. He's the co-founder of Marriage365, one of the most influential relationship platforms online, where he and his wife Meygan inspire millions of couples by sharing their own story with honesty, vulnerability, and practical tools. Together, Casey and his wife Meygan have authored 5 books, built a leading relationship content library inside the Marriage365 app, and they are sought after speakers and coaches. So we are here to unpack the marriage habit today, talk all about relationships and what couples need the most right now. Casey, I'm so happy to have you on Purposeful. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ashley.
I'm so thrilled. Okay, so I have so many things I want to dive into. So for perhaps any of our audience that may not have heard of you and Meygan, can you share a little bit about your story? I know this is a loaded question. How did you get to where you are today? 5 books, best-selling books, marriage, like your coaches, experts, but tell us what started this journey.
It started with a love story that's familiar to every single person. We met and fell in love in college. We thought dating was so easy, so we figured, let's do this forever. And so once we got married, we quickly descended into the bowels of hell. We started fighting. There's arguments. We didn't know how to let go of things. We're both very competitive. So when we fought, it was like to the death. And what started was like basically a 3-year sprint to the place where we actually hated each other. And my mom's been married 6 times. We've got 12 marriages between both sets of our parents. So we
Wow.
kind of like had this realization, like divorce isn't necessarily the answer. There's got to be another reason or another way forward. But problem was that all the tools out there were not helpful. Therapy put us into talk therapy where we're just talking about all the problems, but no solutions. Books, I didn't want to read. There weren't any couples retreats to go to. So what started a journey was really like this challenge that was placed in front of us. Like, how do you make marriage work? It took us 5 years to rebuild back our marriage. And when we did, all our friends came out of the woodwork and said, hey, we had the ghoul pool on you guys. Like you guys were doomed for divorce, but you turned things around. How did you do that? And what started with just kind of offering advice, people said you should probably do this online. Instagram just started coming into its own. So we started sharing online. One follower became 100,000 followers. And if honestly, it took off in front of us and it's kind of pulled us into like, there are so many other couples struggling in silence.
Yep.
They don't know what to do. They think going to therapy is the solve. I'm here actually to tell you that couples therapy is doing more damage to couples than it's helping, because therapists are not allowed to like enter into their story or offer advice or give them tools. Now, personal therapists dealing with trauma or, things that are inside us, really great. And that's not
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But when it comes to couples, they need tools because every single day is like, moving the ball down the field. But if you're like attacking each other, it's not productive. So couples need habits, systems, and tools. And Honestly, I think there's very few places in culture now where we showcase and celebrate healthy relationships.
I couldn't agree more. I feel like we hear all about the bad ones. We hear about the celebrity divorces, right? It's like all the gossip. So, okay, I want to talk all about the right things to do, but I want to go back to you and Megan because there was this time you hated each other. You said it took you 5 years to walk yourselves back to getting to this place. What made you both decide that you wanted to just stick with it?
It was a piece of advice that is our cornerstone tagline today. And that is, if you want to make a better marriage, it starts by making a better you. And the entire time that we were struggling, we were kind of pointing fingers like, you're the problem, you get fixed, and then we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Marriage is this like revealer of all the things and all the ways that we're broken, especially because of the intimacy and living under the same roof with someone,
Yeah.
that it reveals like there's parts of me that were still unhealed or
Yep.
broken from childhood.
Yep.
And so as I started working on myself, regulating my anger, watching my words, like everything in the temperature of the whole relationship elevated. So I would say like we went from doing the toxic tango and then like we changed the dance and we
Mm-hmm.
went to the romantic rumba. And when one partner just changes the dance and gets out of the tango and moves to something, the other partner has to respond to that.
Right.
So if you want to make a better marriage, sadly, and it's a hard statement, it starts by making a better you. But here's the thing though, it's a very empowering statement. So when someone says, I'm stuck in a one sided marriage, that's a disempowering statement. And it's not the truth. You
Mm-hmm.
actually do have agency and power to change your life.
It all starts with you.
Yeah.
What do you do when a partner doesn't want to do that work or doesn't so like or like I talk a lot about the awareness. What do you do if a partner doesn't have awareness of those anger issues or right? I mean like what then? But you still
Well,
want to make it work.
our marriage story is a perfect model of that because
Mm,
actually Megan's the hero of the story, not me.
mm,
She was the one who actually started working on herself first.
I
So
see.
we would yell at each other and scream at each other. Then one day she walks in and I'm all pissed off at something. I don't know. I'm like storming over to her, face is all red.
Mhm.
And I'm about ready to unleash on her, and she looks at me and she says, "Hey, I can tell you're really upset right now, and I want to hear everything you have to share. Why don't you go outside, take a beat? I'm going to sit on the couch, and I'm going to wait for you, and we're going to have a adult conversation where we're not yelling at each other."
Wow. Megan. Megan.
My jaw hits the floor. I'm like, so see, she changed. And then
Right.
all of a sudden it was like, we're not going to engage that way anymore. And she created a boundary. Boundaries are very confusing for people. Boundaries are what we will or will not tolerate. It's not
Right.
boundaries aren't about other people.
It's about
Her boundary was I'm no longer going to yell in conversations or be around you
Mhm,
when you yell. That was
mhm.
a boundary. Now, did I respect it? Probably not. But over time, I was like, I'm the unhealthy one now. And
I know.
because
Acting like that made you realize, "Oh god, I need to get there."
yeah, and because we're competitive, I was like, well, I'm gonna out health you. I'm gonna be the healthiest person. So that was kind of the turning point for us. So I think a lot of couples that are listening to this that are like, well, I can try to set a boundary, or it does take time, but
Mm,
by doing the work on yourself, you're the one who gets to experience all the joy and happiness, even in the midst of maybe a marriage that's not working or up to your expectation.
yeah, okay, so listeners, step 1, start by working on yourself first, and I agree, like, I mean, how long have I been married? 17 years, we were babies when we got married. I was 26, I think he was 28. There were so many unhealed or undiscovered or things like, when you're in your 20s, you still don't know a lot about yourself. I didn't. And then in the 30s, there's like this awakening. And I feel like, do you think is this something that all couples go through as they're married? I mean, do we all have these unhealed parts of us? Like, what have you seen having coached so many couples now?
Ye Yeah, well, we live in a very broken down society, especially today where
Yeah.
fatherless homes, a
Yeah.
lot of father wounds out there, a lot of men that like, when I ask them, like, "Do you know what it looks like to lead your family well?" And they just get blank stares. So I think we all have parts of us that are, unhealed, and it's a summitless peak of for continuing to grow ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that, yes, with maturity, that can happen, but I've worked with couples that have been married 30 years in that a very lifeless marriage, and now they're all of a sudden empty nesting, and they're, like, waking up to this realization, like, "This isn't working out for us." So, I think everyone has their own journey. I'm always like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So,
Uh, yep.
some people, you want them to be aware of that. I rarely ever see a marriage where both spouses pick their heads up and go, "Hey, this isn't working." It's usually one person,
Mhm,
which can be a lonely road for that
mhm.
person. So that's why I always want to say, like, the work you do on yourself is so gratifying. Now,
Yeah.
here's the statistic. 78% of divorcees live with regret.
Wow.
And why is that? Because they realize once they're out of the marriage, it's harder, first of all. We can talk
Yeah.
about the dating scene later,
Yep.
but they realize I didn't do everything I could have to
Mhm,
work on my marriage and myself.
mhm.
And regret is a horrible experience.
Oh, yeah, and that's a staggering statistic, 78%. I mean, let's just that's so I think it's like your goal and Megan's goal is to really try to save these marriages, and you've seen so many beautiful things happen. I wanna talk about those stories, everything, but I do also wanna talk about the book, The Marriage Habit. So,
Yes.
you say marriage is built on habits. So
Mhm.
tell me the motivation behind this book. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys got 5 books now. The latest
So
one is The Marriage Habit. Let's hear it.
yeah. The marriage habit is how I would describe it. It's a marriage operating system. Okay. And the
Cool.
reason
Okay.
why I know that is because I do have a background in business coaching, and I love working with entrepreneurs and high driving, high performing individuals because they've created systems and structure in their life. Say, for example, in their business, we think about cash, strategy, execution, and people. Those are four pillars of business, and they all have these like KPIs, SOPs.
Yep.
What's our strategic planning? What is our pricing strategy? Who's doing the P? These are all systems and structure that are guaranteeing success. I think about working with athletes, their diets, their sleep habits,
Mhm,
their
mhm.
supplements, their workout routine, their how their recovery. Like every part of their body and their role is analyzed and looked at, and there's things going on. Now, those same type of people, same intelligence, walk home and it's just chaos. There's no plan, there's no purpose, there's no systems, there's no structure, and they're the people that go, "I just can't find time for my marriage." And it's like, well,
Mhm.
you're not going to walk into your business and say, "You know what, guys, let's just make it a great year. I'll see you maybe next week. We'll see what happens." I hope we all get our goals, but we take that same kind of strategy, I guess, into marriage.
I
And
love
so
it.
the marriage habit is really 10 very simple, practical habits, systems, and structure. Now, I know maybe some of the romantic people out there are like, "That sounds so, like, unromantic," but I do wanna say marriage and family is a system,
It
right?
is.
There's a
Yeah.
culture, there's accomplishments like graduating kids out of the house, right? There's goals. When we create those systems and structure, they're like a bowl that then houses the water of love and affection and all those feelings. But if we don't have the bowl there, water just goes everywhere and it's gone.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to hear about what types of and me as a business owner myself, okay, I get this. And I'm like, maybe I already have some systems in place within my relationship and home life too, because I always say you should run your home like you run a business.
Yes.
What does that look like? Like take us into a home that does have those systems and processes in place from their relationship standpoint.
Yeah, so typically what I ask couples when I'm coaching them and I'm first meeting with them, I said, if I had a ring camera on your home life, like what would be some of the regular routines that you guys do as couples? And that's another blink stare, like, oh, I don't know. And so, for example, one of my favorite tools, and that's our probably what we're known for most, is the weekly marriage business meeting. And it's a Sunday night meeting, Megan and I, at 7 p.m. It's in the calendar, and we live and die by this, where our calendar becomes almost like a dashboard for us throughout the week of who's going where, when, what time, what do we need to accomplish? My calendar looks like a rainbow threw up all over it because there's assignments and we got different calendars for different things. Our kids are in water polo. Who's taking them to practice? Who's picking them up? And we walk through the week in a very proactive way of saying, this is how the week's going to pan out. Then we're starting to put in these like calendar chips of like, okay, when's our time? When's sexy time?
Mm, mm,
When's self-care time? Okay, I want to work out
Mhm.
there. Okay, so we put that in the calendar. So we actually have a system and tool for you to kind of checklist off, are we talking about budgets? Are we talking about meal plans? When's our connection time? And so the week now becomes something where we've purposely been intentional of how do we want the week to go in a way that works for us and for our family. And the one thing, actually, I love the word intention. And this is probably
Mhm.
what the if I had a billboard across America, I'd say, make marriages intentional again.
I love that. Okay, tell us why.
So the word intention, I bet you didn't know you're going to learn Latin on today's podcast, but the word intention is Latin for intendere, which is pushing two words together, which is stretch forward. So the
Mhm.
idea is when we live with intention, we're stretching. Okay, stretching is a little uncomfortable, as we all know. If you've ever been professionally stretched, doesn't feel good at
Mhm.
all. But we're
Mhm.
stretching forward towards a direction, a vision, a goal. And when we live that way, we are now living with purpose and meaning. And we're not just allowing life to just carry us around. Because I think that
Yeah.
the opposite of intention is this like leaning back,
Yeah.
passive, reactive.
Yeah.
Marriages that are reactive and passive are not creating space and time. They're not maintaining. They don't last long. And yeah, I mean, that's where the chaos and the tension starts being created.
Yeah, and then probably then projecting onto each other. So I'm curious for you. By the way, love your Nardi mug there. What have you seen change with couples when they start implementing? I love this idea of a Sunday meeting. I try to do it, but like we've done it. We have other types of meetings, and I do think it works really, really well to get on the same page and schedule time to be together. What have you seen change with couples when they start implementing just this, like step one?
I'll tell you right away. Here's the first thing. Conflict has been reduced by over 50%.
Wow.
Because if you think about conflict in marriage, it's missed expectations, it's misalignment. I thought you were going to be here. I thought you were going to do this. And so what happened, or the tension is it's Tuesday night at 9:30 at night and we got to talk about what's happening tomorrow.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not in the right headspace.
Yeah.
You're making demands of me. I'm gonna bark at you back. So think about all that conflict that can be created from not being on the same page. So as soon as couples do this, all of a sudden the tension just drops,
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
drops.
Mhm. It's fascinating. I also think, for couples to get to a point where they hate each other and I'm curious for your take. In some ways it can be a slow burn over time,
Correct.
very slow. And I'm just curious if there's like little things that couples do even every day that can cause them to quietly create distance over time.
Yeah. So actually, there's a nautical and aviation law called the law of 1 in 60, which states that for every 1 degree off you go, and for every 60 miles you go, you're 1 mile off target.
Mhm.
So I think the law of 1 in 60 happens in a lot of couples where
Yeah.
they go the first 20 miles, they don't feel like they're off target.
Mhm.
And a lot of couples can go very far distances and still not feel off target. But if you set sail from Los Angeles to Hawaii, 1 degree off, you miss the islands by over like 30 miles. You wouldn't
Yeah.
even see them.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of couples kind of go, well,
How
where
did
did
it
we get
happen?
off? So
Right.
people are in the slow drift and they don't recognize the signs. And mainly because again, we're not intentional. We're just letting life happen. Oh, we're so busy. We
Yep.
can't find time. When's the
Yep.
last time you went on a date night? Don't know. When's the last time you went on vacation? Just you two? Don't remember. And so they're not recognizing the signs, that's where again I go back to some of the cultural moments is we're not really the love that we do in sitcoms and TV shows is not the love that sustains because
Right.
it's actually not that interesting,
Yeah.
right? It's not throwing your spouse against the wall and making mad love, it's clearing the dishes off the counter.
That is a love language to me. Yes. Do the
It's it
dishes. Do the laundry.
it can feel very monotonous or unromantic, but that's actually the love that then creates like that's the bowl and the structure I was talking to you about.
Yeah. I'm just so curious. So like what would you define as a thriving marriage? Like what does that look like in real life? Like give our listeners something to aspire to, especially when we have like kids, stress, exhaustion, busy schedules, work. It can like sometimes even in my house getting through to the end of the school year and even the new school year It is so much. My husband and I can be like ships passing in the night.
Totally.
How do we go from there to like paint us to the picture of what a thriving marriage looks like?
What I see in thriving marriages is a spirit of friendship and teammates. Like we're a
Mhm.
team. What I see in thriving marriages is we're creating and carving space for us, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. We're not talking about kids, work, or money. We're having heart-to-heart conversations. I see thriving relationships are not conflict free, but repair rich. What I mean
Ooh,
by that is they have the tough conversations. They have compassion on each other, knowing like I'm not going to have best days every day, but they know how to repair the relationship. Actually, that's probably the work that I do most is teaching couples how to apologize to each other in a
that's
way that
big.
brings about validation, ownership, builds trust, invites forgiveness. During our 2-day intensives for couples in crisis, we'll spend 5 hours apologizing to each other.
5 hours?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I need to know more about this. I mean, like, I guess, first of all, even one apology can be hard.
Yep.
So, what's the method behind the 5-hour apology?
So there's a lot of crappy apologies.
Yeah,
Actually,
there are.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Mhm, mhm,
Or
mhm.
I'm sorry, but you don't understand what I was
Yeah,
going through. Like
yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of or just saying I'm sorry. That's not the apology. There's a 4-step framework that we actually teach that says things like, "Hey Ashley, I am so sorry I've been on my phone making you feel deprioritized and not important. I was wrong. What can I do to rebuild trust with you? What can I do to make this better?"
Ooh.
And then that's like the first 3 steps, but then that 3rd step is a conversation that invites your spouse to say, "Well, let's problem solve. Like on date nights, let's not have our phones on the table. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, let's have 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock where we're doing tech free, right?" And so now couples in crisis, sometimes they can't work through that without a third party kind of refereeing that process, which is why it takes about 5 hours. But one apology, if it's a big apology, not standing up for you, not prioritizing you, making work a priority, that's a big conversation to have. 'Cause
Mhm. It
that's like,
is.
how do we change our life so that our marriage is a priority? Now, the
Um,
guys that I work with, these entrepreneurs, I've literally watched them 10x their business once they repair their marriage because they think that the argument at the breakfast table doesn't carry over into the boardroom meeting that they have. Because in relationships, we carry this tension, whether it's conscious or it's sitting in the subconscious.
mm,
If it's
mhm.
unrepaired, I call it like a crappy stack of pancakes, right? It's this pancake stack of all the hurts, all the wounds that our spouse isn't validating, recognizing, taking ownership or accountability. And so we carry this like tension. And then, I hear these guys, they're like, I don't know why I just snapped at one of my employees or, I can't
Mhm.
got a creative block. What happens is they're not recognizing that the tension that they have at home, which has no system, no repair, we're avoiding all the hard topics. Once we address all of that, it's like this, they smell the sunshine of life again.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought this up, Casey, because I feel like our society and culture, and I mean, I was taught this way, compartmentalize your work, home life, but really it all does intersect together. So it's like you're doing a relearning, a reteaching of really how what happens at home or at work can impact the other side because we can then project onto our employees, our spouse based on what happens. And I think that's
Yeah.
so this is such important work, and I've been saying this for a long time that it's all interconnected, especially for entrepreneurs.
Yes. Yeah, I think we want to try to compartmentalize, but that's not the case.
You can't. Okay, so then how do we not? Like take us through that. Like, okay, I got in a or something shitty happened at work. Sorry, something hold on, I got to stop myself. I'm not FCC, I'm not allowed to cuss. So something bad happened at work, right? You come home, you're stressed, there was tough conversations, and you're in a bad mood. And then suddenly your wife or husband is like, "What's the matter with you?" And then you get it, right? What happened? What do you do? How do we diffuse that?
Well, I go back to one of the habits in the marriage habit is the apology framework that I shared. We are every single one of us, if we have an honest look in the mirror, recognize there's parts of me that are still in process,
Yeah.
still working through. So if we can take ownership of that, that builds trust in the relationship. And I don't know a spouse out there that would not want to hear an apology. And I always tell people, like, even when we were talking about kind of that one-sided marriage, I go, find something to apologize for and apologize. Actually, I know I shared the weekly marriage business meeting. That's what people love us for.
Yeah.
The most powerful tool that I teach, though, is how to apologize. It is the most powerful thing. I've watched years of resentment, of bitterness and anger evaporate right in front of my eyes as I guide couples through the apology process. I've watched affair recovery couples, people that have ignored their spouse for years, people married for 30 years. I have all of that. And that's why I like in my like deepest heart, I don't want to be the only one that has this information, to be honest. I
Mhm.
would love to see so many more people learn and teach others how to repair relationships, because if we can do that, this is the legacy work that I have is I'm sitting with a couple and I tell them, I said, listen, what we do in the next 2 days during these intensives impacts 3 generations,
That's right.
because you come back healed. That's going to change your kids' lives.
That's
It's
right.
going to change the way they go out, find a mate.
That's right.
So I always tell them, I'm here for your grandkids,
I love that.
because that tool is that powerful. And if we can do that, not to get like super high level here, but as America, we're facing a population decline.
Yep.
We've got more skepticism around marriage than ever. We've talked about the dating scene is horrible because we don't know how to date. And a lot of that stems from the fact that our childhood home has been disrupted, or was not modeled healthy behavior. So we don't know how to actually do marriage well. So when people
Yeah.
say marriage is hard, you know what I want to tell them? It's because you're doing it wrong.
And you're like, I figured out the right way to do it.
I have. I
Yeah.
have. I literally have. And that's where I want that message to get out as fast as humanly possible to bring back hope. Because if we don't continue marriage and family structures, that is a seismic change that will happen to our culture.
That's right. And I love that you say like I'm doing this for your future grandkids. I think about that all the time. I want to go back to the apology really quick because as someone who has apologized but also been on the receiving end of an apology, if any of our listeners are like, "Oh, it's so hard to do." I get that. But as someone I have been on the receiving end, I know I'm sure you have too, Casey. When my husband apologizes to me and he's very genuine about it, and I can think of one particular instance that it meant so much to me. It just diffused, like, it was like the smoke cleared and I could see, like, just a path forward. And it just I love that that's one of the most important things that you do because we're human. We're all gonna mess up, right? We're all like, it's gonna happen. But the art of the apology, and I even wrote this down. It's like apologize, what can I do better? And then let's problem solve. And I think that's so beautiful and so needed. And I think I wish they taught this in schools, Casey. Like I literally wish that my kids would learn this in school.
Without sounding too negative, I mean, this is what's interesting to me is a lot of therapists know this is the rupture and repair cycle of couples. I'm stealing this from the Gottmans.
Yeah.
I'm just actually having couples do it, okay? But therapists know this, but they're not teaching their couples, which is why I kinda have a burn my sock for couples therapy as a
Yeah.
practice that's just putting couples in the midst of just talk therapy, which I feel like is like a whirlpool of,
Yeah. You're actually going through the muck with them
Yep.
and watching them come out on the other side of it.
Yeah, so actually my title, I'm not a marriage coach. I actually call myself a marriage strategist.
I love it.
Because what I'm trying to do is give people strategies on how to overcome anger and resentment,
Mhm.
strategies on how to run a successful marriage and family and parenting. And that to me is where, yeah, this is information. I'm gonna have you go through it and run through it like a like I'm a personal trainer almost. Like, here you go. Here's the reps.
I love it. It's a personal trainer for your marriage.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about Marriage 365 because that's really how this all began.
Hmm.
Right before the books and before everything, before the app. So tell us a little bit about what Marriage 365 is and when you started it, what problem were you trying to solve when you created it?
Well, I'll go back to intention. We almost called ourselves intentional marriages.
Ooh, okay.
But Megan, looked at me and kinda threw up in her mouth. She's like, "That sounds terrible." But what if it's like marriage 365 days a year? And then we came up with Marriage 365, the idea that you're married every day and that
Yeah.
you can and to be intentional around that. That's the heart behind the name. And honestly, we were early days of Instagram, and what I wanted to accomplish was I really wanted to be innovative in this space. You have therapy and you have books. That was
Mhm.
it.
That's
Like,
yeah.
can we bring something else to the table? And then aesthetically, like I was very particular on the images that we created and posted on Instagram. I wanted them to be beautiful, to invite the eyes and the head into what was happening. Because if you could remember, like a lot of like marriage stuff feels very static,
Yeah.
clip art kind of style, like, two rings intersecting, and that was like about it. And I really wanted to create something that was beautiful to the eyes to invite okay, let me open myself up to these pieces of knowledge and wisdom about how to do relationships well. And then we started coaching people. Then we were like, well, let's teach these principles and then let's film ourselves teaching these principles. And then what if we put this behind a paywall? And what
Mhm.
started in 2017 as just a subscription service to some of our tools has now turned into our app, where we have the largest relationship education library of videos, courses, workshops. There's about 30 different thought leaders inside of our app that give couples the tools. And so, for $20 a month, right? I mean, just
Wow.
you can get the same exact tools that I teach as well.
So I love it because you're right. There you saw a gap in how to support couples and marriages. It was just books I mean, that's what people think, oh, my marriage is trouble. I'm gonna buy a book or I'm gonna go to a therapist. But you have this beautiful library. And what I love is also you and Megan are so fun and so funny and so real. I mean, so much, so different than like, a therapist. It's just
Right.
you keep it real and are so authentic. And I say this having known you both for years now, and there's nothing else like it out there. So I wanted to say thank you for creating it because it's so
Yeah.
needed. And like I'm just honored that we can use the Purposeful platform to tell so many more people, hopefully, about it.
Yeah. And I honestly, I wish there was more competition.
Yeah.
I mean, because like we're just one couple and one platform, but this message has to get out there. So anybody that's out there fighting for marriages, I don't see as competition, but collaboration of like,
Yeah.
we gotta we
Let's go.
gotta get that message out. Yeah.
Let's offer this together. I'm so curious because I feel like you're on the forefront of marriages. Like, what patterns do you see couples fall into the most that like gets them in trouble?
Okay. Yes. There's one that stands out above them all, and that is the critical wife and the avoidant husband.
Okay, let's talk more about that.
So there's many places to start. It's the chicken and the egg.
Mhm.
Men are typically really good initiators in the dating phase. They're the one that gets down on one knee, asks the girl out. Like there's a lot of like planning the date nights, things like that. Oftentimes when they get married, they withdraw and they're like, okay, mission accomplished. I got her. I'm gonna go work or do my hobbies.
Yeah.
And so he kind of backs off and he's not leading the family well, leading through initiation,
Mhm.
engagement, providing direction, not dictatorship, just gonna
Yeah.
stop, but like leading well, serving well. Like, hey, are we good? Is this system working for us? So then the wife is like, hey, so I'm now carrying the entire weight of the relationship as you avoid. So she gets very critical with her words.
Mhm.
So she can be very cutting. I think women are they have a way with their words better than men do. So they can be very cutting, which then sends him withdrawing because if he doesn't know how to stand up for himself or he's, I don't know how to lead, so I don't want to look like a failure. And you're coming with strong emotions. I don't know how to handle that. He withdraws more. And then the cat and the dog chasing around each other in the yard. She gets critical, he withdraws, and then the circle continues. And that can happen for years. And she gets more and more frustrated that he's avoiding. I see that 9 times out of 10.
How do you stop that pattern?
Depends on who I'm talking to. So if I'm talking to the wife, I go, hey, you got to take ownership of your words.
Mhm.
You've been cutting. You need to create a safe place for him. Okay. So there's an apology that has to happen.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to the man, there's another apology that needs to happen. But then I need to tell him, hey, this is how you engage. And as you engage more, the ice queen will melt.
The Ice Queen. I can't wait for my husband to listen to this episode.
She'll melt. She'll be that nice, kind, caring person you wanted to be with. But typically it takes it's like implementing a system like the weekly marriage business meeting where we're
Yeah.
intentionally creating when's us time. How do I engage well? How do I lead well? How do I provide direction? Like what are we celebrating in the next 6 months? Where's us time? Like that type of leadership is garners the respect that every man wants. But again, because we don't have strong male leadership examples in culture, that a lot of guys just don't even know how to do that. That's why I said, when I ask you to lead your family well, what does that look like? And they don't know.
Maybe that's a question our listeners can ask themselves, especially for the husbands. Like, what does it look like to lead your family?
Correct. And I'm using gender roles here because there's
Sure.
this strong masculine energy that
Hmm.
is, driver, that's like risk taker, the feminine energy, nurturing. She wants to nurture that kind of energy. So
Hmm.
that tension, actually inside that tension of the two opposites, there's actually something beautiful. We actually talk about in the marriage habit is how to leverage each other's strengths in a way rather than creating liabilities, use
Hmm.
them as but like this is a secret superpower for you as a relationship.
I love that. I feel like I could talk to you all day long about just this subject in general. One thing before we close, I do want to just hear from you on is just and you touched on this earlier, the concept of marriage, how less
Mm.
people are getting married, but how you've said that we need to really be celebrating marriage and family now more than ever. Why, Casey, do you believe that strong marriages are essential, not just for couples, but for future communities?
Great question. And man, how to answer that? That's like the $1 million question right there. I mean, for eons of generations since humans have been around, we have propagated ourselves through creating healthy families, creating kids, replacing ourselves and replicating that. So why is that so important? Let me actually pull up Harvard's Human Flourishing Project. It is the longest longitudinal gotta say that slowly. Study on asking this one question: what makes us happy? For the past 80 years, meaning the people that started this are dead already. I mean, this has been going on for 80 years, 200,000 people in 22 different countries, spanning every race, ethnicity, socioeconomic, like trying to figure out like what makes us happy. And it's not recognition, it's not accomplishments, it's not money. It's the depth and quality of the relationships we hold. I know that's probably not a shocker, and that was a lot of studies, and there's a lot of data points just around the depth and quality relationships we hold. And the most intimate relationship we can have is the one with our spouse. And
Mm.
when that is working well, we have happiness and thriving and the joy, the generosity that even comes out of that. And if you had a community that was built around that, think about what we could accomplish as a collective. Instead, we have isolation, loneliness, disconnection, social media, which has pushed us further away, suburbia. We could talk about that, which is actually we've untribed ourselves and now we're
Mhm.
isolated in a house. Drive up in the driveway, garage goes back down, we stay inside, we play in the backyard. A lot of studies around that. We're disconnected. And now I want to say, in today's society, how's it working out for us?
Yeah.
We're more polarized. We're more disconnected. We're more drug riddled because of our anxiety and depression. It's not. So when we come back to family systems, which create groundedness, that's what creates thriving communities
Yeah.
and productive societies.
Yeah. And that will create the next generation. Like I think of like our grandkids, our great grandkids, right? The work that we do today on ourselves will pay off in dividends for our generations to come because they're coming. They're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Casey, that was, thank you. And I know that was like a loaded question, but you gave me a beautiful loaded answer that was very deep. And I know leaving our listeners with a lot to think of. So, Casey, tell everyone you have the books, you've got Marriage 365. If our listeners want to get involved and be in your and Megan's energy, which folks, I highly recommend you do, where can folks go?
I mean, we're any search engine, just type in Marriage 365. We're all over YouTube. Instagram is probably our larger community. You can download the Marriage 365 app. There's a lot of free resources there, so you can check that out. And if you go on Amazon, The Marriage Habit or our other book, 365 Connecting Questions for Couples.
Ooh, I love that one. Definitely need to pick that up, friends. So you heard it. Casey Caston, thank you so much. You'll have to tell Meygan we said hello. We'll have to get her on the show coming up again. But this was so incredible. And I'm so grateful that you spent time with us on Purposeful today.
Thanks, Ashley.
And thank you, listeners. And I know you got a lot of great takeaways today. I did. I'm, the journalist in me. I'm always taking notes, and that big sticking point on apology. I'm gonna remember that. And any other couple out there, do your 7 p.m. Sunday business meeting. I've done it too. It really does work. It does help set you up for success. And just go check out Casey and Meygan, all their books, and a takeaway today: marriage should be celebrated. And I'm so grateful to celebrate it and have that conversation with you, Casey. So thank you again. All right. Until next time, listeners, thank you so much. We will see you again soon. I'm Ashley Bernardi, and this is Purposeful.